Hello everyone, my name is Caitlin and you're watching Likeable Cocktails. On today's edition of Classic Concepts, I went to one of my cocktail books, the Savoy Cocktail Guide, for some inspiration. I actually just flipped a bunch of pages and the first cocktail that I saw I was going to make. And that cocktail happened to be the Manhattan. Now the Manhattan came to be in the late 1800s, and it's one of those staple cocktails that you'll find absolutely everywhere. Now I'm going to make this cocktail with a little bit of an adjustment. I'm going to kind of swap it over to the Black Manhattan. Now the Black Manhattan and the Manhattan are very similar except for with one ingredient. In the Black Manhattan, you're using Amaro instead of sweet vermouth. Now, I really like using Amaro in cocktails. I find it adds just a little extra depth and a little extra flavor. So today, we're gonna cross those two, the Manhattan and the Black Manhattan, with a little side of the Bijou and create our own cocktail called the Harlem. So first things first, equipment. What you're going to need is a mixing glass of some sort. You don't need a fancy one like I have. You can use a mason jar, you can use a water glass, really anything that's gonna hold liquid and ice is fine to use. And a stir stick, or a stir spoon, or a chopstick, just anything that you're gonna be able to mix your ice around and your liquid in your mixing glass. The Manhattan's original recipe calls for rye, so I'm gonna stick with that, with a minor tweak here or there. So I'm gonna pour in 1.5 ounces of bullet rye right into my mixing glass to start things off. Now using rye as our base is going to add a nice spiciness to this cocktail, but I want to highlight a little bit of the sweet notes as well. So to go along with 1.5 ounces of rye here, I'm going to add 1/2 ounce of Zacapa rum. Now Zacapa rum being aged is going to add a little bit of body to this cocktail. If you have a different style rum at home, please feel free to use that, but make sure it's been aged for at least 7 years. 1/2 ounce of Zacapa rum. Like I said, I kind of want to switch this over to a Black Manhattan. Now I'm swapping out the sweet vermouth and changing over to Amaro. Now for the Amaro, I'm using a local Amaro, and I want to use 1/2 ounce right into our mixing glass. Now if you want to stop here and just add ice, stir it up, and pour it as a cocktail, it will be delicious. But I want to take this just one step further. I'm going to add a bar spoon of green chartreuse. Now this is kind of going into our Bijou style of cocktail, which is another classic cocktail from the late 1800s. Now green chartreuse is excellent. Don't be afraid of it. Yes, it smells very herbal and it's quite strong, but it's really delicious. It's actually made by monks, and it's been created for years and years and years and years. There's not one sole person who has the recipe. Actually, a bunch of people have different stages of the recipe, so it's kind of a mystery to what actually goes into green chartreuse. Now, I'm only gonna add a bar spoon. That's about 7 mils. You don't wanna go too heavy on this because it is a pretty strong flavor, but this is gonna bring the rye and the rum together beautifully. Our last ingredient, we need a dash of Angostura bitters just to tie everything together. Now bitters are kind of like the salt and pepper of the cocktail world, so don't be afraid to use them in your cocktails at home. Just 1 dash. Now let's load our mixing glass up with some ice and stir it down to your desired preference. I would say about 10 seconds. Now if you're using a mixing spoon or a chopstick, just make sure it stays to the outside of your mixing glass. That way you're gonna get nice even circles around your cocktail, making sure everything is diluted perfectly. Now I prefer to serve my Manhattan style cocktail straight up, but if you like it over ice, go for it. Just gonna pour it into my glass here and we're almost done. Apparently my assistant's back. To finish off our Harlem cocktail, we're gonna use a little bit of zest of lemon right over top of the glass. Now I prefer lemon on this style of Manhattan. It really brings together the rum, the rye, the Amaro, and the chartreuse. So just a quick spritz over the top and you're ready to go. So here we were able to take our Manhattan cocktail, our Black Manhattan cocktail, and our Bijou style cocktail and merge it into one great delicious cocktail we call the Harlem. Cheers! Remember to like, subscribe, and follow here for more videos on likable cocktails.